Starting with 1 million luck points. Chapter 6. How? The dean asked subconsciously. There were more than 20 classes and more than 1,000 students in the Year 3 cohort. To find the peerless genius out of all the Year 3 students would be no different from searching for a needle in a haystack. Moreover, based on the surveillance footage from last night, it was obvious that the peerless genius was avoiding the cameras to hide his true identity. That was why the dean was worried. Principal Zheng stood up and walked to the window to look at the students outside. After a long while, he continued, I plan to hold a Year 3 tournament. Any student is at the first level of blood essence and above can sign up and participate. The top 10 winners will be heavily rewarded. The dean shook his head and said, since that person doesn't want to be exposed, he might not sign up to participate. After all, such tests of strength had been held in the past, but that person had never revealed anything. Principal Zheng smiled meaningfully. It will be different this time. The minimum reward for the top 10 winners shall be 100,000 yuan. What? 100,000 yuan? The dean was shocked. In all the previous tournaments, the prize for first place had only been 10,000 yuan. Now even the 10th place was guaranteed 100,000 yuan. This was definitely a bold move. Yes, 100,000 yuan. Principal Zheng smiled like a cunning fox. As long as that super genius is interested in the reward, he will definitely participate. The dean understood and immediately flattered, very wise, Principal. Principal Zheng laughed. The minimum reward was 100,000 yuan. He did not believe that the peerless genius would not be tempted. Under the deliberate promotion of the school leaders, the news of the strength tournament soon spread like wildfire throughout every class. Of the third-year cohort, the 23 classes went wild. Oh my God! The rewards for this tournament are too generous. The first place will be rewarded with 300,000 yuan. The remaining of the top 5 will be rewarded with 200,000 yuan, and the 6th to 10th place will be rewarded with 100,000 yuan. This is simply unprecedented. Is the school crazy? Or did they sell the testing equipment? No, I want to participate too. What if I make it to the top 10? You. Come on, let's just stick to being bystanders. The Year 3 students were no longer in the mood to attend classes. Everyone was talking about the tournament. The minimum reward of 100,000 yuan excited every student. After all, in the city, 100,000 yuan was enough for an ordinary family to live for a year or two. Grade 12 Class 4. Similarly, many students were discussing heatedly. Even an outstanding student like Su Ling joined in the discussion. Su Ling, it looks like you're going to get first place this time, 300,000 yuan. I'm so envious. A fat girl sitting next to Su Ling said enviously. Su Ling quickly shook her head. If the super genius from last night attended, I definitely won't be able to get first place. That's true. The fat girl suddenly understood and thoughtfully said, in that case, the school seems to have specially organized this tournament for that genius. Most likely. Su Ling nodded in agreement. If you can't get the first place, the second place will definitely be yours. It's at least 200,000 yuan, the fat girl said with a smile. I hope I can get second place. The tournament will be fierce this time. Su Ling smiled. 200,000 yuan was enough to tempt even someone with her family background. Zhou Hao listened to the discussion between Su Ling and her table mate, and his heart stirred. Actually, the moment he heard this news, he had vaguely guessed that the school leaders had specially organized this tournament just for him. The reward for the first place was 300,000 yuan. For someone who desperately needed money, this was definitely a huge sum. Zhou Hao was tempted the moment he heard the sum, but after he calmed down and thought about it, he broke out in a cold sweat. Once he participated, it would not take much effort for him to obtain first place. However, it would also undoubtedly reveal him as the student who sneaked into the training hall last night. At that time, it would definitely attract the attention of the school leaders and even the big shots of the city. Although this would allow him to obtain a lot of cultivation resources, it would also attract the attention of the foreign races. This was the scariest. Regardless of whether it was the demon race, insect race, or machine race, they all had their sources to gain intelligence on the humans of planet Earth. If they found a peerless genius like him, they would eliminate him at all costs. Every time the history teacher gave a lecture about the humiliation the humans on planet Earth had suffered for more than 100 years, Zhou Hao would feel sorry for those dazzling geniuses who had been killed by the foreign races before they could even grow up. Zhou Hao felt like calluses were growing in his ears every time he heard that lecture. However, at this moment, he was extremely glad towards his history teacher. Otherwise, he wouldn't have realized the danger he was in. It seemed that the school leaders had underestimated his ability with this move. I definitely can't sign up to participate, Zhou Hao reminded himself. But this time, the rewards for the top 10 were too generous and he didn't want to waste the opportunity either. After giving it some thought, his eyes suddenly lit up as he thought of a brilliant idea. Chapter 7. Ring ring. After school, many students were not in a hurry to leave. Instead, they ran to the academic affairs office to ask about the tournament. Zhou Hao followed Zhang Yi to the cafeteria since there were free leftovers in the canteen. The two sat together and chatted while eating. Zhang Yi, you are at the second level of blood essence. You should be able to participate in this tournament, right? Zhou Hao said as he took a bite of a bun. Zhang Yi nodded and wolfed down a few bites before saying, I am able to participate, but I don't feel like signing up. Zhou Hao asked curiously, why? It'll be a waste of time even if I go. Zhang Yi forced a smile. Everyone at the third level of blood essence will definitely participate since the rewards for this tournament this time are so generous. So even if I go, I can only set my sights on the 6th to 10th place. Although it is true that I am ranked higher than the others who are also at the second level of blood essence, you should also know that I have had blood essence shortage problems for a while now. I can do well on tests, but not on fights. Zhou Hao frowned and asked, what rank do you think you'll get if you participate? Zhang Yi thought for a moment and said helplessly, there are only 13 people who outrank me in blood essence in our year and there are 7 people who are similar to me in terms of blood essence. If I really participate in the battle, I might be ranked around 21. Having understood Zhang Yi, Zhou Hao smiled and said, Zhang Yi, don't worry and sign up. I have a way to let you enter the top 10. Zhang Yi exclaimed and looked at Zhou Hao in surprise. Trust me, you don't have to worry about the rest. Zhou Hao said mysteriously. All right, I'll participate then. Zhang Yi nodded heavily. 2 days passed in a flash. By the third morning, the registration of the heated Year 3 Strength Tournament had been closed. The applicant list was posted on the notice board of the Academic Affairs Office. During the morning exercise period, many students rushed to the notice board. There are more than 400 Year 3 students who have first level blood essence and above. There are also more than 400 people on this list. It seems that almost everyone is participating. Who wouldn't participate when there are such generous rewards? That's right, you'll be rich if you could just make it to the top 10. Dream on. Do you really think it's that easy to enter the top 10? There was no lack of discussion among the crowded students. Everyone's faces were brimming with excitement. Zhou Hao looked at the dense crowd of people. Even though he had good eyesight, he was still unable to get a good look at the notice board. Therefore, he squeezed through the crowd without exerting too much force and pushed most of the students away. Some students who knew Zhou Hao immediately mocked, Zhou Hao, why are you trying to get through? You don't even have the qualifications to register. What's the use of looking at the name list? Zhou Hao ignored them and squeezed into the front row. His eyes quickly swept across the list, while secretly memorizing the names of the students who were speculated to be likely to get into the top 10. Lunch break. On the wide training grounds of the school, many students who had signed up for the tournament were training and working hard. They were busy getting ready as the elimination round would be held in the afternoon. Students with second-level blood essence and even third-level blood essence, like Su Ling, were also working hard. After all, the strength tournament was announced so suddenly. No one was prepared. Zhou Hao swept his eyes around. After confirming the positions of the students who had potential to make the top 10, he lowered his head and walked over. He first approached Wang Ming, who was 3 times stronger than him. When Zhou Hao got close and was only 3 to 4 meters away, he pretended to stumble and crashed into Wang Ming. Wang Ming reacted quickly and dodged Zhou Hao. "Are you blind?" Wang Ming asked coldly when he saw Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao steadied himself and apologized profusely. At the same time, he stepped forward and gently patted Wang Ming's back. "Did I hit you?" Wang Ming scoffed. "You? Get lost. Don't hinder my training." "Yes, yes." Zhou Hao quickly left, but he was sneering in his heart. "Keep being arrogant, you won't be able to move in a while." Last night, after testing out his strength in the training hall, Zhou Hao had also specially trained his control of strength. Although it was just a light slap, Zhou Hao had broken several of Wang Ming's tiny meridians. As long as Wang Ming continued to circulate his blood would clot up in his meridians and eventually his blood essence would be blocked, preventing him from moving. After that, Zhou Hao used different methods to approach the other students who had potential in making the top 10 and did the same thing to them. Of course, these minor injuries were insignificant to students who had been training for years. They would recover in a day or two. Zhou Hao's goal was to prevent them from participating in the tournament that was to be held in the afternoon. Moreover, he varied the damages and was more unkind towards the ones who he had grudges with. "Huh? Lu Jian isn't training." Zhou Hao looked around for an extra time and frowned. He had already made plans for Lu Jian. Not only did the latter have a bad reputation, he had even bullied Zhou Hao before. He probably left the school again. Zhou Hao did not intend to let Lu Jian off. He immediately left the school and followed the broad road on the right to a dense residential area. He had heard that Lu Jian often came here for lunch. When he reached a building in the neighborhood, he saw Lu Jian, who was discussing something with a few men and women. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that Lu Jian was using this tournament to secretly start bets in the school. "Big brother Lei, here's a total of 100,000 yuan, Lu Jian said to a young man with a humble look. "Why is it only so little?" The young man was displeased. "There's nothing we can do about it. Chu City is poor to begin with. If not for the sudden appearance of the tournament, we wouldn't even be able to get 100,000 yuan. All right, the usual rules. Give me 60,000 yuan and come here tomorrow to get the meridian opening pill." Zhou Hao's ears twitched. Meridian opening pills were much more expensive than blood amalgamation pills. They were the main pill used for cultivating the dragon elephant wisdom technique. No wonder Lu Jian often came here. It turned out that he had obtained a medicinal pill channel. Without any hesitation, Zhou Hao stomped on the ground and sped away. "Who is it?" Brother Lei had just reacted when he saw a lightning-like shadow attack. Bang! Bang! Zhou Hao knocked them out easily. Furthermore, Zhou Hao punched Lu Jian an extra 2 more times. Lu Jian would be bedridden for at least half a year. After taking the money from Brother Lei and Lu Jian, Zhou Hao left quickly. He did not feel guilty at all about robbing these people of their money. On the way, Zhou Hao was in a good mood. Back then, he didn't even have 1,000 yuan and needed to borrow from Zhang Yi, but now he had a total of 100,000 yuan. It was simply a huge comeback. 100,000 yuan, how should I use it? Zhou Hao pondered. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and slapped his thigh. I'm so stupid. Lu Jian isn't the only one around the school who's starting bets. Chapter 8. When he returned to school, the 100,000 yuan that Zhou Hao had stolen was gone. However, Zhou Hao was in a good mood. He was certain that he would be able to earn more once the tournament ended. Just as he reached the school building, he heard intense discussion and argument. As expected, something happened to Wang Ming, Li Ji, and the other contestants who had potential in making the top 10. Damn, what's going on? Out of all the times it could have happened, why did it have to happen now, at the start of the tournament? Who knows? I heard that he sprained his waist from training. One sprain is acceptable, but more than 10 sprains together. Only a fool would believe that it was an accident. The news spread very quickly. Not only did all the students know about it, even the school's leaders and teachers heard about it. In the principal's office, the head of the grade, the dean, and many teachers gathered together. Principal, let's cancel the tournament. Many students can barely even move. There's no way they are able to participate in the competition. The top 5 students, including Wang Ming and Li Ji, are all suffering from congestion. It's too much of a coincidence. If we don't investigate this matter thoroughly, the tournament will be meaningless. It's not appropriate to cancel the tournament. I think we should postpone it for a few days. Several teachers spoke up, and the principal's office was filled with noise. Principal Zheng did not say anything. Instead, he looked at the Year 3 director. Department Director Hong, what do you think? Department Director Hong was a retired martial artist. There was a long scar on his face, and it looked exceptionally hideous. When he heard the principal's question, he snorted heavily. A tournament is like a war. All kinds of unexpected situations can happen. Can a war be cancelled so easily? Humph. How trash must you be to be able to sprain yourself during training? Whether it was an accident or not, he should be considered weak for not having prevented it. It's simply a waste of the school's resources to have such students participate in the competition. Department Director Hong's words made many teachers' expressions change. But no one dared to make a sound. This was a martial artist who had participated in the bloody meat grinder battle. Principal Zheng slammed the table. Good, well said. Teachers, go back immediately and stabilize the students. The strength tournament will continue in half an hour. The Year 3 teachers nodded and left the office. Department Director Hong didn't leave. He narrowed his eyes and stared at Principal Zheng. Old Zheng, be honest with me. Did you send someone to do it? Principal Zheng shook his head. The purpose of the tournament is to find that peerless genius in our school. If I send people to take action, wouldn't it make the whole thing meaningless? Old Zheng, do you mean that the peerless genius was the one who did it? Department Director Hong was puzzled. The dean at the side laughed. Other than that person, who else could so easily injure more than 10 students who have the potential to make it to the top 10? But I don't understand why he would do that. If he wanted the reward, couldn't he have just signed up himself? Department Director Hong still did not understand. Principal Zheng explained, this genius from our school probably doesn't want others to know his identity, but he wants to get the reward, so he can only use other methods secretly. Department Director Hong was not stupid. He soon came to a realization. You're saying that he made his friend participate? Haha, Principal Zheng and the dean laughed. What a sly fellow. Department Director Hong also smiled, making the scar on his face look even more hideous. Principal Zheng praised, it's good to be sly. The foreign races are eyeing us covetously, so it's not entirely a good thing for our school to have a peerless genius. My original intention was to find him and send him to a global training base. But since he doesn't want to be exposed, we'll let him be. Department Director Hong immediately snorted and said, Elder Zheng, you did the right thing this time. The global training base seems to be impenetrable on the surface with so many human experts protecting it. However, over the years, how many young geniuses have been assassinated by the foreign races? The dean hesitated. It's still too risky. Our school doesn't have the ability to protect geniuses, and we don't have many resources. I'm afraid we'll only be a hindrance to the genius in our school. Principal Zheng looked at Department Director Hong. How could Department Director Hong not understand the meaning behind his gaze? He started yelling, "Old Zheng, old CAO, you two are in cahoots with each other, and you're even scheming against me. I knew that nothing good would happen the moment you guys invited me over. Forget it. I haven't contacted the old leader in years anyway. It's rare for a seedling to appear in the school, and I won't let it waste away in my hands." The strength tournament was held as scheduled, which surprised a lot of the students. Many students who had good relationships with Wang Ming, Li Ji, and other injured students began protesting against the injustice. But under the comfort and pressure of the teacher, these voices soon disappeared. 2:30 p.m. All the Year 3 students sat in the audience seats beside the training hall. There were also some of the outstanding students from Year 2 and Year 1. Zhou Hao and Zhang Yi stood at the side. Zhang Yi looked at Zhou Hao and asked suspiciously, "Zhou Hao, did you do this?" Zhou Hao smiled bitterly. "Zhang Yi, I haven't even reached the first level of blood essence. Do you think I am capable of something like this?" The suspicion in Zhang Yi's eyes faded a little, but he was still conflicted. "But..." "No buts," Zhou Hao interrupted. "Think about your sister. Are you willing to let her end up like you, not having enough food to eat or resources to cultivate?" Zhang Yi's expression changed as he clenched his fists tightly. Zhou Hao patted Zhang Yi on the shoulder. "This is your chance. Seize it. All the best." "Thank you," Zhang Yi said firmly. The elimination round begins. At this moment, the teacher in charge of the tournament shouted, "All participants, get ready." Chapter 9. The elimination round went by very quickly. Zhang Yi also quickly stood out. After all, he had second-level blood essence. Even though he was lacking in nutrition, his strength was enough to crush his enemies who only had first-level blood essence. Soon, an hour passed and there were only 20 students left on the training grounds. Other than Su Ling, the rest of them only had second-level blood essence. There were only 3 people with blood essence stronger than Zhang Yi. "I have to work hard." Zhang Yi looked at the other students and encouraged himself. This was his best chance. If he could get into the top 5, he would get a prize of 200,000 yuan. The other students also looked around. They were all excited. Out of the people who had potential to make it to the top 10, 4 of the students with third-level blood essence and 8 of the students with second-level blood essence had already been dealt with. It could be said that this was their most likely chance to enter the top 10. The battle for the top 10 will soon begin. Following the referee's order, the 20 students, including Zhang Yi, began to fight according to the name list. Half an hour later, the results of the tournament were out. As expected, Su Ling got first place while Zhang Yi got into the top 5. He happened to be in 5th place. The audience was in an uproar. Most of them were envious. "I'm gonna faint. I'm fine with the fact that Su Ling got first place, but what about the others? They weren't supposed to be in the top 10. Under usual circumstances, Zhang Yi wouldn't have made it into the top 10, but now he's in 5th place earning a reward of 200,000 yuan. Ah, I'm jealous. If I had known, I would have participated too." Zhou Hao was extremely excited when he heard the jealousy around him. He did not expect Zhang Yi to enter the top 5. However, that was not important. What was important was that he remembered that out of his 100,000 yuan, he had bet 20,000 yuan on Zhang Yi getting into the top 5. At that time, he did not think much of it since he was betting with stolen money. Unexpectedly, his bet paid off. Moreover, the rate was 1.20. This meant that he could get 400,000 yuan. Furthermore, he had bet the remaining 85,000 yuan on Zhang Yi getting into the top 10. As for the rate of that bet, it was 1:10. In other words, Zhou Hao had won 1.25 million yuan in total. Over a million yuan. This was definitely a huge sum of money. The villa in the center of Chu City was only sold for 1 million yuan. I've struck it rich this time. Thankfully, I didn't keep the money back then. Zhou Hao was both excited and emotional. During the award ceremony, Zhou Hao could no longer sit still. He slipped out of the school and quickly arrived at a commercial street nearby. I went to a more formal place, so I don't think they'll deny me my money. As he thought this, he turned and entered a luxurious shop. He followed the left corridor of the shop to a large hall. As the tournament ended, many people came to claim their rewards like Zhou Hao, but most of them sighed. It's all because of that bastard who attacked Wang Ming, Li Ji, and the other students who had potential to win. This time, the compensation is terrible. It's all the same. The top 10 of the Chu City High School competition this time is too unexpected. Hearing everyone's discussion, Zhou Hao was laughing inside. He went straight to the counter and took out the seal. The receptionist froze when she saw the seal. Why? Is there a problem? Zhou Hao's eyebrows shot up. The waitress quickly said, No, sir, it seems you were quite lucky. Please wait for a moment, I'll give you the reward immediately. However, the amount is pretty large, so it'll take some time. Zhou Hao waved his hand. It's fine. After sitting at the front desk for a while, the waitress came back and handed a crystal card to Zhou Hao. Sir, this is a crystal card. It shows the quota. You can extract yuan from any city bank. Zhou Hao received the crystal card and immediately felt a faint energy flow. This is something that was even more valuable than yuan. After confirming that there were no problems, Zhou Hao quickly left with the crystal card. After turning several streets and seeing that no one was following him, he finally felt relieved. 1,250,000 in total. I'll save 50,000 for backup and use 1 million to pay for a house. The remaining 200,000 will be handed to mom and dad to keep and use to improve their lives. Zhou Hao quickly made arrangements for his money. He had long wanted to change his living environment but had no money in the past and could only fantasize about it in his mind. Now that he had money, he naturally had to fulfill his wish first. Because of the tournament, the afternoon classes were cancelled. He was in no hurry to return to school anyway. Instead, he went straight to the Yang Garden residence in the center of Chu City and bought a small villa that he liked. Since he paid in full, the workers at the district sales office handled the procedures very efficiently. At around 7 in the evening, the worker handed Zhou Hao the keys and the property deed. I wonder if mom and dad like this surprise. With this thought in mind, Zhou Hao took out his phone and called his parents. At the train station. After hanging up the phone, Wang Shuyun felt a little anxious. Did something happen to little Hao? He didn't say anything on the phone and asked us to go to Yang Garden. That's where the rich live. Zhou Suiwo, on the other hand, had a calm expression. Don't worry. It's probably just a conflict with a classmate. When we get there, we should maintain a humble attitude. It shouldn't be a problem. Wang Shuyun nodded, but there was still worry on her face. We still haven't paid the rent yet. In 2 months, it will be the second semester of little Hao's 3rd year. He will need money to cultivate. Zhou Suiwo consoled, don't worry, I'll think of a way. Hi, it's all my fault. Wang Shuyun was worried. Chapter 10. They took the subway and walked for a long time before Wang Shuyun and Zhou Suiwo arrived at the entrance of Yang Garden residence. Seeing Zhou Hao, Wang Shuyun quickly stepped forward and asked with concern, Little Hao, are you all right? When Zhou Hao saw his parents, he said excitedly, "Mom, I'm fine. Let's go. I'll bring you to see the new house." New house. Wang Shuyun's face was full of question marks, and Zhou Suiwo was also puzzled. However, the two of them patiently followed Zhou Hao into Yang Garden residence and arrived at a villa. "Zhou Hao, why did you drag me here?" Wang Shuyun couldn't help but ask. "I know you've always wanted to change your living environment. If you wait any longer, I'll definitely let you stay in this house." Zhou Suiwo sighed as he listened. He blamed himself for being useless. Zhou Hao smiled and said, "Mom, there's no need to wait. This house will be ours from now on." Huh. The two of them were somewhat dumbfounded. "Let's go in and take a look." Zhou Hao smiled and said, "If it's not suitable, we can exchange it for another one." As he spoke, he took out his keys and opened the door to the villa. Seeing this, Wang Shuyun was stunned. Zhou Suiwo was even more dumbfounded. However, the moment she reacted, Wang Shuyun asked, "Zhou Hao, tell me honestly. Where did you get this key?" Zhou Suiwo also raised his voice. "Son, didn't we teach you not to do anything illegal?" Zhou Hao did not know whether to laugh or to cry. He hurriedly took out his property deed. "Mom, Dad, this is really our house. Look, it's written on the property deed." Wang Shuyun and Zhou Suiwo hurriedly went forward. Glancing over, the two of them were stunned again. Little Hao, you bought this villa." Wang Shuyun's voice trembled. "Son, where did you get the money?" Zhou Suiwo felt dumbfounded. One had to know that this villa cost 1 million yuan. How many years would he have to work to earn 1 million yuan? Wang Shuyun gritted her teeth and said anxiously, "Little Hao, quickly return the house and get the money back. We can't do anything illegal. We'll bring you to confess if you did anything illegal." Zhou Suiwo also thought of the seriousness of the problem. His son was only a year 3 student, so how could he have so much money? He must have done something illegal. Zhou Hao was speechless. But it did make sense. As a year 3 student, he had not even broken through to the first level of blood essence, so how could he get 1 million yuan? Apart from breaking the law, there was no other way. In fact, the source of his money was indeed not legitimate. But no matter what, he had obtained it with his strength. "Mom, I really didn't do anything illegal." After hesitating for a moment, he helplessly told her about the school tournament. At the same time, he also said that despite making money from the bet, his primary goal was to help his classmate. Moreover, he had also taken out the invoice from the betting company. Wang Shuyun did not understand this and passed it to Zhou Suiwo to let him read it. Zhou Suiwo looked at it seriously and took out his phone to check the map and company. After confirming it a few times, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. "Honey, it seems our son is telling the truth." Wang Shuyun's eyes widened in disbelief. "Suiwo, does that mean that Little Hao really made more than 1 million yuan?" Zhou Suiwo nodded heavily, but he quickly thought of something and questioned with a sunken face, "No, where did you get the money for the bet?" Zhou Hao's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected this. His mind raced. Seeing his parents' expressions turn uglier and uglier, he hurriedly said, "I borrowed it from a classmate." "Classmate? Which classmate would lend you so much money?" Zhou Suiwo frowned deeply. Zhou Hao lowered his head and said, It's Su Ling." "Su Ling? Why would she lend you so much money?" Zhou Suiwo was still suspicious. "Because I helped her once before, and this time, I coincidentally heard that someone was going to attack those people, so I took the gamble." Zhou Hao braced himself and said. "Is that really true?" Zhou Suiwo stared at Zhou Hao. "Old Zhou, stop pulling a long face. We watched our son grow up. How could he possibly do anything illegal?" Wang Shuyun hurriedly said. Zhou Suiwo thought about it and agreed. Although his son's talent was ordinary, his character was still reliable. He pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, "Son, don't gamble on something like this again." Zhou Hao hurriedly said, "I know, Dad. This is the last time. I definitely won't do it again." Zhou Suiwo's expression improved a little. He was very proud that his son had earned more money than him. However, at the thought of that matter, his eyes still revealed worry. Next, Zhou Hao brought his parents around the villa. Although it was empty, it looked very warm. "Mom, let's go shopping tonight. We'll buy all the necessary furniture and also buy a few sets of clothes and other necessities for you," Zhou Hao said excitedly. Wang Shiyun did not want to disturb her son's excitement and agreed immediately. Therefore, the three of them went to the nearby mall to buy some things. It was not until 11 p.m. that they returned to the poor community where they used to live. As for the furniture they bought, the shops would deliver it to them personally tomorrow. Well, look who it is. Just in time. Hurry up and pay the rent you owe." The fat woman who had been guarding the door yelled out the moment she saw Zhou Hao and his parents. Several families nearby secretly looked over. Zhou Hao threw the 3,000 yuan in front of the fat woman. "This is the rent we owe you. We'll move out tomorrow." Zhou Hao was not fond of this extremely snobbish landlord. With that said, he pulled his mom into the room. Zhou Suiwo nodded slightly and apologized to the few families nearby. "Thank you for taking care of us all these years. We'll leave the community tomorrow." In the living room, Wang Shiyun sat on the sofa and complained, "Little Hao, even if you have money, you can't waste it like this. You still have to buy things one at a time." "I know, Mom. I'll be careful in the future. Just this once." Zhou Hao massaged Wang Shiyun's shoulders. "Indeed, I receive the most love from my own son. Pinch the left side a few more times." After talking for a while, Wang Shiyun let Zhou Hao go back to his room to sleep. He still had to go to school tomorrow. At almost 12 o'clock, Zhou Hao, who had been browsing on his phone, was about to sleep when he heard deliberately lowered voices from his parents' bedroom.